Hi everybody, my name is Leanne Alexander. I'm coming to you from our UPCI World Headquarters with another teacher training tip. Now today we're going to talk about starting a new quarter of teaching material. Perhaps you follow a semester module or a quarterly module, whatever way you organize it. Let's talk about those transition points when it's time to start a new quarter or again a new semester, whatever way you organize your teaching schedule. Now these transition points, honestly, they can be a time where we can lose students just because in those handoffs, the transition from teacher to teacher, class to class, for our children especially, it could be a time where we have to really work to hold hands and make sure our students make that transition. But it also can be a really wonderful time to breathe some fresh energy and life into your teaching ministry. So I want to talk in this video about 3 things that we can do to add that excitement and energy during these new quarters or new transition points in our class schedule. So first of all, let's talk about when this new quarter comes, the emphasis on making student connections. Okay, for our adults, most of the time we don't have a lot of turnover quarter to quarter with our adult students. They're not aging in the way they would be with our primary or preteen class, our children, but this is still a time to reevaluate the connections that you have with the students in the classroom. It's easy sometimes to just get in the routine of having class Sunday after Sunday, but I love the start to a new quarter because it's a time to reevaluate. How are things going? How am I doing as a teacher? How are the students doing? Are they connecting? And it's a great time to ask, what are my personal connections with the students that I'm ministering to? Can I strengthen that connection? Can I strengthen that bond? Now, for our children and our youth, this is especially important because as I mentioned earlier, sometimes with our youngest children, there can be a little trepidation moving up to a new classroom, especially if it's a time where new teacher, they're going to meet their new teacher. We want to do everything we can to make connections, to make students feel welcome, connected, safe, engaged, excited about coming so that they stay with us for this important journey. So during this time of starting a new quarter, let's make sure that we're ready to really connect with our students. Now that happens first and foremost by being prepared. And that's especially important as we start a new quarter because we may have new materials that we need to get ready in our classroom. You may be putting some things on the wall. You may be running some copies of new materials. There may be lots of administrative work that you have to do to get ready for this new semester. That's why it's important that that week before the first Sunday, we get in there and get prepared and ready to go. I've said this in other videos, but those first 10 minutes before class starts, that's your time to shine. That's your time to make those connections with students. I can't do that if I'm still running around gathering up activities and getting copies made and getting ready for this new quarter. But if I've got all that done, if I've made that investment during the week, then as students can come in, I'm ready to focus on them. And that's when I build some of those personal connections maybe I wouldn't otherwise make if I'm busy doing other things. I once saw a class totally derailed because the teacher came in. This was adults. I know I'm talking some of this about children. This was a class of adults, adult teacher. And the teacher came in and sat down 5 minutes before class and started looking at the phone. And just looked at the phone, and then at whatever time magically it became teaching time, looked up, said, okay, let's get started, and just plowed right into the class. There was there was just such a disconnect because the students had been sitting around the table staring at this person play on their phone, and then suddenly when class starts, like, okay, well, let's magically have class. Well, there's a disconnect because everything that had happened in those first 5 minutes says, I'm just punching a clock. I don't care about each of you. Well, I know you're doing this because you care about your students, but because of the start of a busy quarter, sometimes we're not ready to make those personal connections. So I'm simply saying in this video, let's do the extra prep work it's going to take with this new quarter so that first Sunday, as students walk in of whatever age level, we're ready to connect with them, we're ready to talk to them, ask them about their week, what's going on in their lives. And this great point as we start this new quarter is a great time to re-engage them. So the first thing we can do is make an extra effort to connect with our students as we start this new quarter. Now the second thing is exciting because a new quarter is a great time to breathe some fresh energy into our class, and we can do that when we intentionally promote our class. Now that may sound a little odd because it feels a little awkward sometimes to say, hey, my class is so great, come to my class. Well, it's not my class, it's our class. And when you use that language of our class, first of all, that builds that connection that we're talking about with our students. We're in this journey together. But the other thing is because I'm not the teacher putting on a show, but I'm a person who's just connecting all of our students to study God's Word, the real hero, the real focus here. I can proudly promote the class because I know it's about what God's going to do in our class time together. Promote your class. Feel that confidence to say, hey, if you're teaching adults and there's someone that's not making the trip to come early to be part of your class, proudly promote that class because God is going to bless them as they come and spend time together in their word, in His word. Not about you, but about them getting engaged in the word. And of course, with our children, we want to be excited and add that emphasis. We want you to come to class. Student wants to feel that they are important. The teacher cares about them and wants them. So let's use these fresh quarters as a time to promote the class and invite in students who maybe you haven't seen in a while or for whatever reason aren't actively and consistently engaged in the class. We can do that with social media. We have some wonderful free tools at our disposal through social media. So get a quote from some of the material you're about to cover. Get some pictures of something exciting that's going to be happening. Push your class. Promote your class. Let's get students of every age level to the house of God. And a new quarter is the perfect time to do that because you've got fresh material. You've got a natural, fresh start. It gives students an easy entry point in your class. They may feel maybe a little awkward to walk in the middle of a quarter, middle of a study when everybody else already knows what's happening. But when you say, we're starting a new quarter, a new study, and then there's that way for them to come in and they're part of the group together. So number one, we're making student connections. Number two, we're promoting the class with this fresh start. And then number three, let's plan for special events. Now, I'm teaching a class right now, and for 3 quarters in a row, because of extreme weather and because of holidays, we've had class cancellations at some point in the quarter. That's going to happen just in the course of life, but we also can get proactive and understand that Christmas is going to happen in the winter quarter. We're going to have Easter in the spring quarter. We're going to have maybe VBS or a promotion Sunday in the summer. And hopefully we're going to have some kind of open house function in the fall. And we'll have other videos about that. Let's get proactive right now as the quarter starts. Sit down with your leader's guide, your teacher's manual. Look at that table of contents and pull down the church calendar. Look at those side by side. Proactively, let's think through what kind of special events or special scenarios are we going to have. We can't over communicate with our church leadership enough. Let's get connected with them and figure out what we need to do to organize this quarter and be ready for everything that's coming our way. When we have a special event, that's a wonderful time, again, to breathe some fresh life into our class. We can connect it with that event. If it's VBS, it's Easter coming up in the time we're releasing this video. Let's connect with our team, figure out what we're doing, how our class is a part of that. And again, use that to promote the class, add that excitement, and talk about the good things going on. Now, admittedly, this video has been some of the more administrative side of teaching, but when we're proactive and when we take advantage and we look at some of these issues that come up, like starting a new quarter, and we get organized in advance, that allows us to be more effective in the class in the moment. And that brings an energy level to our students and to ourselves that just helps us recognize the value of what we're doing and the excitement that should surround it. God has called us to a special ministry to share His word with people He loves. You and I have that privilege. And when we do all of the kinds of tasks that we've talked about in this video to make it exciting, to plan it, to promote it, God's going to bless our efforts. And He's going to help us in this great work of educating and discipling new believers and believers of every age. If we can help you at Pentecostal Publishing House, please don't hesitate to contact us. And may God bless you in this great work we're called to do to teach His people.